Yeah, that's correct. So a lot of the early stage companies that come to us don't have expertise in regulatory, and we don't expect that. I will sound like a broken record, but what we're looking for is breakthrough technologies and protectable technologies. And if we see technologies that have a benefit for the consumer that we can get to market, we know how to navigate the regulatory system, and we would take that on as our responsibility in the arrangement.
And Nancy, Intel, same way?
For our portfolio companies, absolutely. I would say most regulated medical products need a big partner to get to the market. And it's helpful to have a partner like a Johnson & Johnson design and the trials that are going to amass the data and information that it's going to take to convince United Healthcare to actually pay for those products.
No, I've got a question, but I want to make sure we take care of the audience. So there, a question in the back there.
What investment potential do you see for mobile health applications?
That was actually going to be the thing that I used as an answer to your question. In the United States, I would say that mobile health has got a lot of energy around it right now. I went to the Mobile Health Summit last year in Washington, D.C. There were 3,000 people. So what is mobile health? It's still trying to decide as a group what does that mean. We've had e-health and i-health, and I think a lot of things are being put under the umbrella of m-health and mobile health now. And a lot of energy being put into finding a business model where you can get either reimbursement or a consumer to pay out of pocket. But that is definitely, in the United States, that and big data, like the health data initiative and all that, those seem like the areas of most interest in the U.S. in healthcare.
And we're definitely seeing activity there. Another question. Go ahead.
So we talk about sick care, and also we talk about consumers and FDA almost in the same circle, but really they're not, in my opinion. I think there's a whole sick care system that has FDA and CMS codes and the issues that we know about it, and that takes a different type of investment appetite, a lot more risk, a lot more stages to FDA, whole different value prop and returns, versus what's happening is the consumers are assuming much more responsibility by nature of what's happening in the broken system. And that's a whole different opportunity. I think if you end up mixing the two, it's hard to be both, right? It's hard to be FDA approved, go through multiple stages, and yet be consumers around 50 states, out of the gate.
You're saying it's hard to be both as a company?
As a company, and I think also as investors, and that shows even on the panel.
Yeah. But, so the question is, do I spend my money getting FDA approval, or do I spend my money doing advertising and building my consumer brand? Is that kind of the choice that you think happens out there?
From our perspective, we have a consumer-centric health solution, so we don't need to make that decision because we're not diagnosing. But that allows us to be international out of the gate. But maybe that makes us unattractive to some of the folks on the investments.
Just a couple of thoughts on that. I mean, we focus on consumer, and by and large, we'll try to avoid the FDA risk. But the consumer market it's unpredictable, right? I mean, when you're in the realm of brand and engagement and emotions and what's going to have lift, I mean, J&J knows this really well. It's unknown, and there's a lot of investors in the Valley who just say, "Whoa, that consumer thing, I don't really know." I mean, to the point earlier from DFJ. How do you actually quantify whether this product is going to hit or not, whether that beverage is going to hit or not, that superfood is going to hit or not, whether that product, whether the flip camera, I mean, rest in peace, how did we know that was going to take off the way it did? It's really fickle. So there's a different type of risk on the consumer market as well that some investors don't have the appetite and expertise to focus on. We believe we do at Physic because of our experience, our background investing, and our partners like Unilever and Pepsi, who are in that world doing that. So I agree that firms should be focusing generally on one versus the other. And I just want to hammer on the point that just because there's not FDA risk doesn't mean that there's risk. It's a different type of risk.
So, opinion on the consumer side. We've got a lot of people come to us with, this is the new big idea, the world's going to love this. And if that's your product, then spend some of your budget and go show that the world loves this. Even if it's just a small set of people, pick the right people, get some feedback, get some users on the system. If you come with a consumer product that's gained 100,000 users in its first 6 months, then we're going to say, somebody does love this. Even if I don't love this, or the rest of the team at DFJ didn't love it, if the world as a whole love it, we're just not the target audience, then potentially it's a great consumer product. So, you know, in response to that, the easy way to see on a consumer product if people like it is to see if people like it.
And you're saying they have to launch to do that, or do some soft launch to show?
Generally with a consumer product, it tends to be extremely capital light, and you know, you can self-finance or get angel finance and get a product out there and do some, you know, guerrilla marketing. We hear amazing marketing strategies from people. I heard the other day someone was planning on giving out overcoats to homeless people in San Francisco and then print their logo somewhere on there, which I mean, you can debate the ethics of that perhaps, but you know, you are solving two problems, right? So you can get consumer products out there pretty easily.
And many of our consumer products are FDA approved, so it's not really two separate worlds. I think whether you have what you're calling a consumer product, we might call it cosmetic. But we do have consumer products that are FDA approved with NDAs. They're in the FDA monograph system. We also have medical devices that we sell as consumer products. So it's not all mutually exclusive. I think the FDA approval allows you to make more aggressive claims that give you a competitive advantage than a cosmetic or what you might be calling just a consumer product.
And I know we're going to talk.
Sorry, I guess I would say
Go ahead, Jeff.
there's an awful lot of room and an awful lot of problems to be solved to be constrained to things that are just under the jurisdiction of the FDA. We see a huge number of issues just in consumers trying to navigate the system. I had great conversations at lunch about things that wouldn't be necessarily regulated, but that could have big business models.
And I know it's not exactly on topic. Oh, I forgot to mention, you guys have a venture arm too, correct? That United Healthcare has a
Yeah. So part of my responsibility is in Medicare and retirement for boomers, but we have sort of an internal network of innovation and business development folks, one for at least each of the other segments, as well as a VC.
So I know it's not exactly on topic, but when I talked to my table at lunch and just historically, entrepreneurs really do want to know, how do they approach you? Now, they can come up after this panel and try to get a bit of your time, but hopefully that's not the most efficient way that you'd like to see things done. How, Robin, if someone has an idea for the next Viagra equivalent, or even just a different type of Band-Aid or whatever that they feel could fit Johnson & Johnson, do you have some hints? What if you wish they knew on how to approach you that you could tell them right now?
We actually have a website that where we post what we're interested in investors sending in. And even though people don't always like to go to the website, it is the best way to get your idea reviewed at Johnson & Johnson, because if it comes through the website, it gets routed to the right department, it gets responded to in a certain amount of time, it gets tracked in the system. So I really encourage people to go through our website.
Okay, and Nancy?
Well, we also have a website, but I'm going to be old school on the answer to this question. And I really think it comes down to relationships. You're going to support me on this? So almost all of the investments that I've made in my career, either I knew the principals or somebody I knew introduced me to them. So it's a web of relationships. And people often use the word networking. There's like this craze of networking, but it's not about just networking and meeting somebody and exchanging business cards. It's really about developing a relationship over time. And that forms the basis for me being willing to put money at risk.
Yeah, I would agree completely. We had exactly this conversation at lunch, which was a great discussion. It's a social business, it's a relationship business. And please do come up after it and introduce. And what I would say is that I, on balance, prefer to build these relationships when it's not in the context of fundraising. I mean, that's what we need to do and look at opportunities. But when there's a relationship that's been built over time, and I can observe a business growing, provide a little guidance, hopefully all along the while, and at the right moment when they're looking for the right capital and our expertise, that's the time to make the investment. You know, that said, of course, if Peter said, hey, Andy, look at this entrepreneur, they're fantastic, they're looking for capital, I would return that email within the next 24 months. being it's Peter.
So now you've got to line up at me rather than line.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. No, within the next 24 hours. I mean, no question about it, because it's social. But you know, in our business doesn't scale. Dave McClure made a great point about the venture business. It doesn't scale in this regard because you know, whether you're making an investment of $1 million or $100 million, it's still the same relationship building. It's still the same diligence, the same time, and that's why in our portfolio we'll invest in 4 or 5 companies a year because of that you know time and relationship intensity.
And so we're going to get the other panelists to answer this as well, but I want you to take home at least one point here, and that is there are different styles for venture capital and different styles for investors. And let's hear from Jeff. How do I get an idea to you?
Yeah, so we're a little behind J&J and
They should mail it in, is that what you're saying?
We're not as, traditionally not as open, although we're trying to get there. But I'm here for that reason. So the answer for today is talk to me, and like I said, part of my job is to try to connect you to the rest of the organization.
Okay, well hopefully we'll figure out a way for the conference participants to get your email addresses, get your URL for the website. Xander, do you want to have a thought on offer a thought on how DFJ likes to see plans and ideas?
Yeah, one thing I note is that the average venture capital company is not anything like as organized as Johnson & Johnson. If we could be like that, then we'd be running a multi-billion-dollar business as well. I think my email address is on the DFJ website. It's just first name at dfj.com. I read my emails, easiest way to get through to anybody there. But I also agree that building a relationship with an investor is pretty helpful. And it doesn't necessarily have to be your relationship. You might know a venture lawyer who knows some venture capitalists. And if you've got a compelling idea that you can sell well and you have the right team and you're showing some traction, then people will be interested to make the introduction and people will be interested to read your idea. So a lot of the great ideas we get don't come in through blind submissions or website submissions or anything like that. They come in because someone at a party said, oh, there's this great idea that my friend's working on that you really should check out. So if you've got a good idea, get out there, meet people, and see how that works out.
So Peter, how about you?
Okay, well thanks Nancy for putting me on the spot, that's fair game. But I want to emphasize with Xander what the point is that if you are going to get somebody, and we work the same way, and there is a difference, but we work through references, but think about what that reference is doing. That reference is a trusted source. That's somebody I know, it's someone Andy knows, someone Nancy knows. And the reason they're saying that is not just to connect to someone they know, it's that person hopefully understands your idea, believes in it, and what Xander said, they find it compelling themselves. They're not just doing this as a favor or part of building their network. And so when you look to, you should proactively look at that reference and make sure that they are that person that will get your idea. And you probably have relationships with people that will not get your idea or not be able to communicate it, and people that will. And just think about that source, how you get to me. One of my favorites is, and maybe I shouldn't tell the secret, I don't know if you guys would mind here.
Please tell.
Do you guys mind if I tell you one of the secrets? Is go to the portfolio companies of these investors that might be related to your idea. So if Andy's invested in a company that may be somewhat aligned or a similar business that you have, try to get to know that portfolio company, get that CEO aware of your idea. What other trusted source could be better than one of Andy's CEOs, one of Nancy's CEOs?
That is pretty much the warmest recommendation you get.
I'm sorry, Xander?
That's pretty much the warmest recommendation you can get.
Okay, well there you see very unusual thing. Venture guys all nod their head in green about the same point. But seriously speaking, it isn't just about having that reference. I tell my friends that are entrepreneurs, they may go to a venture capitalist. The venture capitalist will say, I will not invest in that idea. But then as a nice gesture, they say, I will refer you to some of my venture friends. And I'm sitting there going to the entrepreneur, why would this guy or gal who wouldn't invest, why would I take their recommendation on an idea? It just doesn't make sense. They've denied it. Why would I then want to invest and get this reference from a fellow venture capitalist that has already turned it down? Now, there might be an unusual circumstance where it's a healthcare idea, and I'm not into healthcare, and Nancy is, or something like that. But that rarely happens. That means you didn't do your homework in the first place on who you went to in the first place. So make sure your reference is someone credible that will be enthusiastic about the idea, not just the quote LinkedIn, second removed person with that source. Let's get a few more questions from the audience before we're done here. Go ahead.
Yeah, we had this morning about amazing opportunities for aging, in particular abroad, and Japan and Italy with even more extreme circumstances. So, what would be the panelist sort of advice of somebody who's got a startup who really wants to go global? How would they be able to help?
But let me just refine your question, because I think it's a great one. We rarely talk about the international market these days in the U.S., but it is, potentially just as large, if not larger. Are you suggesting a company may focus on Japan first, then come to the U.S., or are you suggesting they go after world domination from the start?
I think the company is going to be excited by the global story and would have exactly that question. I'd love to hear opinions of people who've got that, because obviously there's other problems with Japan in terms of addressing it as an American company.
Right. Well, let's, particularly any of the panelists that may have addressed worldwide licensing and how to go after the world market in some sort of systematic way, particularly for a smaller company or for a licensee?
Yeah, I get that issue all the time because we are global, although I will say very few of our brands are actually global when you go brand by brand, but we are global. And what usually happens is a company will have a lead country, and maybe an Italian technology, or usually it's a US technology. So that would be the lead country that the entrepreneur was developing this opportunity for. And if we license or we acquire it, we have the capability to take it global, because generally taking something global, you need regulatory expertise, you need a business model, you need a way to distribute in every country. We have those capabilities, so we look at it as a plus, if the opportunity has global potential, and that will come into our valuation.
But it might be, Mary, a topic for future discussion. We really, at least I haven't seen, like you said, there are boomer markets that might be a little ahead of our wave or have a more accentuated population change, and that might be an interesting subject for future time. Well, let's get a couple more venture questions. Yes?
I'm Jenny Ballou with Data Designs, and we make puzzles for Alzheimer's patients. And I've heard questions about things that are medical goods and things that are high technology. Is there an interest in investing in things that are either of those, but are still giving a real benefit to end user?
Well, they're neither of those, but they are what?
They're healthcare items. They're being used for Alzheimer's patients.
So give us.
So they're not needed for. They don't need FDA approval. They're not a drug, and they're not a medical software. We call ourselves low tech solution for high connectivity. Because we're to use patient care.
So could you just give us an example of one of the products? Or
we make puzzles for Alzheimer's.
Oh, puzzles. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
We make a simple puzzle that varies the right skill with the image that the Alzheimer's patient recognizes.
You just need to remake that. You're in the gaming business. Is what
Peter, you made the right point there. I had the benefit of seeing the tables. I've seen the puzzle. It's nice. It's nicely, elegantly done. The answer is yes. Obviously, there's huge opportunities for consumer products that fit between, IT and medical device. So, short answer is yes. I guess the advice I would give to you, and I think Peter was sort of, joking about this, but hitting a deep point, is don't be a discrete product. Be a platform or a whole solution. The question is sort of what business are you in? If you're in sort of the entertainment, the delighting, the brain fitness space, then maybe the puzzle is part of a larger solution. I think one of the things that we watch out for in our business is, well, what's next, right? All right, well, this puzzle, you'll get traction there, you'll spend a lot of money in customer acquisition, building channel relationships. What do you have after that? So I think just maybe the answer is yes, there's a market, there's opportunity, but also focus on a category as opposed to just a discrete product.
So just to reiterate, it's differentiating between, as an entrepreneur, do I have a project or do I have a company? And I think that's kind of what Andy was saying.
Right. And then think about how much money you need, because if you are just needing just a bit of money to develop that next product, it might not be venture because they're looking for that whole company. But I think you've seen, at least around here, and probably spreading across the U.S., this idea of angels or super angels willing to fund literally millions of dollars worth of investment is a nice alternative to us venture capitalists.
Yeah, and so United, as an example, would be interested in those kinds of solutions. So solutions that help people stay healthier, more engaged, improve the quality of their life as they age, and keep healthcare costs down.
Okay.
Those are the kinds of solutions we're interested in.
Mary, you had a point?
Well, one of our
I promised Mary that if she started this on time, I'd keep her on time, so I'm going to do that. Thank you. Let's thank the panelists.